The Sultanate of Delhi was established in 1206 AD by Qutbuddin Aibak. His territorial jurisdiction over Delhi and the adjacent regions came to be known as the Delhi Sultanate. His successor, Iltutmish, called himself the Sultan. During the 13th and the 14th centuries, the Ilbari Turkish rulers, the Khaljis and the Tughlaqs sat on the throne of Delhi. Alauddin Khalji had appointed Hindus to high posts in his administration. Muhammad bin Tughlaq had also enjoyed the trust of the non-Muslims. Firuz Shah Tughlaq was an orthodox Muslim ruler, but then he also took a genuine interest in Hindu scholarship. During the 15th and 16th centuries, the Saids and the Lodhis ruled from Delhi. In this program, we shall discuss about the political structure of the Delhi Sultanate during the 15th and 16th centuries. With the death of Firuz Shah Tughlaq, there followed a process of decline and degeneration. The Delhi Sultanate had already shrunk in size, the provinces falling apart. Its strength and power now started deteriorating. Controversies and conflicts occurred with regard to succession.
Firuz Shah Tughlaq died in 1388, and eventually we find one of his grandsons ascending the throne in Delhi, and there was a son, a rival claimant called Nusrat Shah. There was constant friction between the two, and the entire Sultanate Empire was crumbling, disintegrating.
At this point in time, several small kingdoms rose to power. Among them, Jaunpur, Bengal, Kashmir and Gujarat were prominent in northern India.
In the south, we find the Bahmani kingdom being divided, broken into 5 small kingdoms like Ahmadnagar, Berar, Bidar and Bijapur, Golconda. There was the Bijoynagar kingdom, of course. So the Delhi Sultanate, which was a large and extensive empire, had ceased to exist. It has been confined in name only around Delhi and the neighborhood.
In 1398 AD, Taimur invaded northern India. He was a Turk and had organized a large army. Taimur became the ruler of Samarkand in 1369 AD and in 1398 invaded Delhi across Punjab. Mahmud Shah, then the Sultan of Delhi, could not resist the invader. Taimur destroyed and plundered Delhi and its neighborhood. Soon after, he returned home to Samarkand. Sher Khan, a Sayyid, took over to rule Delhi. His son was Mubarak Shah. Yahya bin Ahmed Sirindi wrote Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi, an important book on the history of the Sultanate period during the time of Mubarak Shah.
Are there any sources which tell us about the plundering and devastation of Delhi?
Yes, of course, there are sources. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known that there had been such a great plunder and such a great massacres. We have historians, of course, they belong to a later date. The earliest of these historians is Yahya bin Ahmad Sarhindi. The name of his book is called Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi. There are other historians writing about this invasion of Taimur called Nizamuddullah. Then there is Mustaki, another historian. And later on, we have 2 historians living in the time of Akbar, Abbas Sherwani. He wrote Tariq-e-Shahi. And Hasan Ali Khan, who wrote Tariq-e-Dawlati-Shahi. So from these books, though these were written much later, we get a fairly detailed account of this massacre and the invasion. In 1414, we find one Sayyid Sher Khan, the governor of Punjab in the time of Mahmud Shah Tughlaq. he came to Delhi and declared himself the Sultan. Sher Khan was followed by Mubarak II. It was in his time, during the time of Mubarak II, that Sarhindi's Tariq-e-Mubarak Shahi was written, completed. Mubarak Shah was followed by Muhammad, and the last Sultan was of this dynasty, of this line of kings, was Alam Shah. Now these sultans, they were Afghans, and the dynasty has been called the Soyad dynasty. They ruled from 1414 to 1451. None of them were very effective rulers at all. They were just sultans in name.
Alam Shah, the last sultan of the Sayyid dynasty, died in 1451. After his death, the Afghan governor of Punjab, Bullal Lodi, arrived in Delhi and seized power. He declared himself the Sultan. Thus, the Lodi dynasty came to power. The most important ruler of the dynasty was Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar Lodi was able to subjugate the kingdom of Jaunpur. He also succeeded in replacing the traditional Afghan custom of confederate power with Sultani hegemony.
We find that Bullal Lodi was trying to make an attempt to follow the tradition of the Turkish Sultanate and centralize his administration. It was his son Sikandar who was more successful. Sikandar Lodi led expeditions to Jaunpur, and he was able to conquer Jaunpur. Sikandar Lodi's another achievement was to set up a new town or a city in a place called Agra. In fact, Sikandra, where Akbar has been buried, is named after Sikandar Lodi. He introduced a new coinage called Buloli. In fact, this coin, this currency, was in circulation from the time of Bullal Lodi. The Lodis insisted on payment of the revenue in corn, in kind. And that had been mentioned by many. There was an abundance of harvest and extension of cultivation. The economic situation was really, really very good. Sikandar Lodi, according to some historians, was a bigot. In the sense that he was bent on spreading Islam, trying to convert people into Islam, but was not very successful. At the same time, while he was very keen and enthusiastic in preaching Islam, he did not really or actually exploited or harmed the Hindus. We do not find any instances of that, though some temples were broken, as has been mentioned by some of these historians.
Sikandar Lodi died in 1517 AD. He was succeeded by his son Ibrahim Lodi. The only remains from the Lodi past can be seen in the present Lodi Gardens of Delhi. The tomb of Sikandar Lodi is located within the Lodi Gardens. It is an archaeological remain of that period.
It's Ibrahim Lodi who's, technically speaking, the last Sultan of Delhi. He ruled for a short period, 1517 to 1526, when Babur, the Mughal, came down from Kabul and attacked Delhi, once again across Punjab, and at Panipat, Ibrahim Lodi was defeated in the fields of Panipat, and he was killed in the battlefield and defeated and killed in the battlefield, and that was the end of the Lodi dynasty, the end of the Sultanate.
Ibrahim Lodi was defeated by Babur in the first battle of Panipat in 1526 AD. Ibrahim Lodi had a very large army compared to that of Babur. Babur himself had written about the reasons for Ibrahim's defeat in his autobiography named Tazuki-Baburi or Baburnama.
Babur says that it's because Ibrahim's army was unwieldy. Ibrahim himself was young and inexperienced. He had never participated in such a large battle, such a very, very important battle.
Historians have shown various reasons for Babur's victory over Ibrahim Lodi in the First Battle of Panipat.
First, Babur's capability as a military leader. He could organize his soldiers well together. He personally could inspire each and every soldier of the army. And secondly, perhaps more importantly, he brought in two things: matchlock guns and cannons, the use of gunpowder. So much so that the Mughal Empire has often been described, the Mughal rule that was established by Babur came to be known as the Gunpowder Empire.
During the reign of the Sayyid and the Lodi dynasties, the nobles played an important role in the administration. The Sayyid and the Lodi sultans were Afghans and considered themselves to be the first among equals.
During the Turkish period, in the actual Sultanate period, when the Turks ruled, the nobility were mostly Turks. They were actually Turks. From the time of Alauddin and Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we find some Hindus being raised to high positions. The Soyots and the Lodis were Afghans. So the rank and file of the nobility was formed by the Afghans. The Afghans had a different mindset. They did not believe in despotism, in authoritarian rule. They believed in a kind of a confederate government, confederate rule, where the nobles represented the clans from which they came. The Afghans, if one goes back to the some of these historical works that I referred, they claim that they were descendants of a Jewish king. And it's from after Afghana that they call themselves Afghans. There is a second name given to them. They are also known as Pathans. The Pathan, the name has come from, probably from their language, Pakhtuni. From Pakhtuni, Pathan. Now, the Afghans were sort of divided into several clans and groups, like Lohani, Karani, the Sus, the Lodis, and the Soyots. So there were different groups. And they stuck to the idea of confederacy. The sultans considered the nobility as on equal terms with them, on par with the sultans, because it was from amongst the nobility the sultans came, one after another, starting a new dynasty.
The Sultanate of Delhi was established in 1206 AD by Qutbuddin Aibak. His successor Iltutmish called himself the Sultan. With the death of Firuz Shah Tughlaq, there followed a process of decline and degeneration. Controversies and conflicts occurred with regard to succession. In 1398 AD, Taimur invaded northern India. He was a Turk and became the ruler of Samarkand in 1369 AD, and in 1398 invaded Delhi across Punjab. Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the First Battle of Panipat in 1526 AD. Babur had mentioned about the battle in his autobiography named Tuzuk-e-Baburi or Baburnama. During the reign of the Sayyid and the Lodi dynasties, the nobles played an important role in the administration. The Sayyid and the Lodi sultans were Afghans and considered themselves to be the first among equals. Daulat Khan Lodi, the independent ruler of Punjab and uncle of Ibrahim Lodi, together with Rana Sanga of Mewar, had invited Babur to invade India. This was an evidence of the prevailing disunity and uncertain political situation.
Even within the family, there was sort of hostilities and rivalries. Ibrahim's uncle Daulat Khan Lodi invited Babur. So also did Rana Sanga of Mewar. Both invited Babur to come and remove Ibrahim Lodi. The plan was that they would parcel out the Indo-Gangetic plain amongst themselves. A portion would be taken by Daulat Khan, a part by Rana Sango, and a little of that area would be given to Babur. But Babur took the entire region under his sway. Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur, who was actually a descendant of Taimur. In fact, he claimed that as a descendant of Taimur, he had the right to come to Hindustan and reside in Delhi, rule from Delhi. He was also a descendant of Genghis Khan, the great Mongol leader from his mother's side. His father was the ruler of a small principality called Fargana. Babur's father died when he was only 12 years old, and he had to cope with the situation, the political turmoils that were happening. On one hand, there were the Persians, the Persian Safavid Empire, and on the other, the rising new political factor as represented by the Uzbeks. Caught between the two, Fargana was a very small state, and very soon he lost his paternal kingdom. Eventually, he felt that he would not be able to live in Central Asia, so he started coming down. He, surprisingly, using that gunpowder mounted archery together, for the first time, he was able to take Kabul in 1504. He lived in Kabul. He never could go back. And from Kabul, he led his expeditions, his invasions into Hindustan.
Babur defeated Rana Sanga in the Battle of Khanua in 1527 AD. Eventually, after this battle, his power extended over a greater part of Rajasthan.
In 1528, he fought the Battle of Gharghara. In this battle, he fought and defeated Nusrat Shah, the Hussain Shahi Sultan of Bangala or Bengal. He felt it prudent to stay back in Delhi and send letters of friendship to Nusrat Shah, the ruler of Bengal. Babur died in 1530, succeeded by his son Humayun. Humayun was a different kind of a person. You see, he was brave, he was an experienced soldier. He could fight well. He was also, like Babur, Babur was a great academic and scholar, so also was Humayun. But he had one shortcoming. He was addicted to opium. And because of his long addiction to opium, his activities would follow a particular pattern of exuberant action followed by a period of lethargy. And that sort of brought his career to an end, at least for the time being. While Humayun was, immediately after becoming the Padshaho, he was moving towards Gujarat, an excellent and brilliant maneuver in which he defeated Bahadur Shah, the ruler of Gujarat. A new Afghan clan was rising to importance. This was under the leadership of a person called Sher Khan.
Sher Khan took the title of Sher Shah and ruled Hindustan for 5 years, from 1540 to 1545 AD. He had set up an elaborate system of government and a system of revenue collection in particular, which was emulated by the Mughals.
Sher Shah did not rule for long. He died in 1540 to 1545, only 5 years. He died very accidentally fighting a battle in Kolinjur. He had taken Kolinjur, but a cannonball accidentally hit him and he died on the spot. He was succeeded by his son Islam Shah. It was after Islam Shah's death, we find that once again the Sur faction, the Sur clan of the Afghans being divided. And there was Adil Shah Sur in Punjab, Sikandar Shah Sur in Bihar. So the empire of Sher Shah had broken, disintegrated, and there were small patches of Sur regions. And Humayun, taking this advantage in 1553, made a comeback. During the time of Sher Shah, or even after his death, it seemed as if there would be no comeback of the Mughals. The Mughals were just, the coming of the Mughals, the victories were just a flash on the pan. But see how by twists and turns history changes, and it looks after Islam Shah's death, when Humayun came back, we see a rejuvenation of the Mughal power, a re-establishment of Mughal power.
Sher Shah was a military genius and an able administrator. We come to know about his administration from Abbas Sherwani. He lived in the 16th century and wrote the book Tariq-e-Sher Shahi.
Systems that he introduced did not die with him. And we find that Islam Shah continued them. Then Humayun came back. Of course, Humayun could rule only for a year. He died accidentally. But Humayun's son, Babur's grandson Akbar, he was all-time genius, a versatile man, and he could take in what had happened in the past, and he had also a vision for the future. So he accepted the system, he sort of reorganized it, put in his own innovations, his own changes, and continued. So that was what Abbas Sherwani wrote. It was continued. So Sher Shah's short reign was a very, very significant reign, very, very significant period. And it did have long-term repercussions, long-term effects. Going back to the Lodhis again, I would say there was, as I said about the a kind of an affluency that was existing, about the abundance of harvests, abundance of crop growing, extension of cultivation. The Lodhis were patrons of art and architecture, and a particular type of architecture developed during the time of the Lodhis, architectural style, which was continued by Sher Shah. Sher Shah's tomb is a very good example of the type of architecture that was started by the Lodhis and continued. They were also patrons of scholarly pursuits, academics. So the period of the Soyods and Lodhis, if politically disturbed, you see, they could not extend the empire. The Sultanate Empire had shrunk, but nevertheless, they were able to maintain some semblance of law and order. And with Sher Shah coming to power, we find that he was almost like preparing the ground for the Mughals. Akbar just stepped in. One could say that the groundwork was done by Sher Shah. Everything was prepared, set forth for Humayun to take over. And when Humayun died, it was taken over by his son Akbar.
Sher Shah was succeeded by his son Islam Shah, who ruled for the next 10 years. With his death, the Sur dynasty seemed to come to an end. It can be said that the groundwork was done by Sher Shah. Everything was prepared and set forth for Humayun to take over, and then, after Humayun's death, for his son Akbar, the great Mughal emperor. The Sultanate of Delhi was established in 1206 AD by Qutbuddin Aibak. His successor Iltutmish called himself the Sultan. With the death of Firuz Shah Tughlaq, there followed a process of decline and degeneration. Controversies and conflicts occurred with regard to succession. In 1398 AD, Timur invaded northern India. He was a Turk and became the ruler of Samarkand in 1369 AD, and in 1398 invaded Delhi across Punjab. Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat in 1526 AD. Babur had mentioned about the battle in his autobiography named Tuzuk-e-Babari. or Baburnama. During the reign of the Said and the Lodi dynasties, the nobles played an important role in the administration. The Said and the Lodi sultans were Afghans and considered themselves to be the first among equals. Daulat Khan Lodi of Punjab, together with Rana Sanga of Mewar, had invited Babur to invade India. Babur defeated Rana Sangha in the Battle of Kanwa in 1527 AD. Sher Khan took the title of Sher Shah and ruled in India for 5 years, from 1540 to 1545 AD. His administrative system was emulated by the Mughals. Sher Shah was a military genius and an able administrator. We come to know about his administration from Abbas Sherwani. He lived in the 16th century and wrote the book Tariq-e-Sher Shahi.